You can't be serious, man.
Well, what do you do? What'd you do that for?
It means come in.
I don't
I've
need you.
flown to you.
I don't need you to point when I've got to start speaking, Don. I've been doing it for 40 weeks with us. I don't need you to give me directions about when I speak or not. Don, please. So what we're going to do, some of the stuff you do, what we're going to do is we're going to ring Mick Sheahan, who for some reason has corralled himself in with about 800 people down at where he's living with his family, as opposed to be much safer here with us. But we're going to try and ring him on the phone. How else would we ring him? I am not a technical genius, as you know, Donald. So I'm going to try and dial him. So here we go. This might be a balls up. But in the meantime, you have some topics because if there's someone over in Winnipeg in Canada...
Hello?
Mike!
Johnny boy.
Well, Mick, it's nice to... I'm slugging it out here with Don. We've just had Doc Larkins on. And
how was he?
He was very interesting, I think, Mick. If you'd been here, you could have heard it yourself. But you've decided to quarantine yourself down there away from us. Why, I'm not sure.
Well,
why have you decided
John,
to do...
I'll tell you what I've done. I've decided to follow the advice of the world's medical experts. Have you read today's Herald Sun?
I think you were influenced by your two daughters. Because when I spoke to
you're irresponsible, Don. You were on a critical list 2 months ago with a respiratory problem, and there you are today, in there with the other bloke who is totally anti-authority, and just thumbing your nose at the advice of the experts.
Now, Mick, please, before we are considered irresponsible, I'm sitting at least 8 feet away from Don, and we've touched and been in contact with no one, unfortunately, for best part of 5 years. So Mick...
Hey, listen, sorry, the Herald Sun, the front page of the Herald Sun says today, with the medics uniting to say, we stayed at work for you, so you stay at home for us. Can you have a more explicit message?
I've got a bigger question to ask you.
I've got a ripper question. What were you doing Saturday night, Michael, talking about us being irresponsible? You were out socialising at a dinner party.
I wasn't at a dinner party.
Well, that's the word I heard from Sorrento and Portsea.
Well, Mick, where were you?
Well, I was irresponsible, but it wasn't at a dinner party. I went out a group of blokes who normally frequent the Sorrento Hotel. Decided to go to someone's house.
How many of you, Mickey?
About 7 or 8, Donald.
And what type of area? I suppose you're all in the lounge room.
No. We're out the back, and we're
4 metre or 2 metres apart?
Shut up, Don. Let him answer.
We're at the back in the open air, about 3 or 4 metres apart from each other. But it was still irresponsible. I'll own up to that.
So, okay, Mick. So here's the bigger question that we addressed a couple of weeks ago at least. We seem to be ahead of the curve, Don and I, although Don just joined in because he thought it might be a good thing that I said it and he thought he'd back me up. But you sat there and still cannot give me an answer as to why it is the most irresponsible thing that the AFL started their competition.
Well, I can give you an answer. My view about that was that they should play until they couldn't play, and that's how it transpired.
Well,
we needed a dose of normality, John.
No, we didn't.
The whole thing, we've been drowning in this negativity, and rightly so. But I thought that the opportunity to watch the footy back on was just going to lift the community.
So Mick, so why has it stopped then?
Because
yes,
it's because it's now they can't travel anywhere. They can't. None of the teams can cross a border anymore to play their footy.
So you're saying the only reason the AFL have stopped playing AFL fixture matches is because they can't travel?
Well, that makes it impractical. But the other thing is, I think they finally decided that they can't be out of step with every other organisation.
Why did it take them 2 weeks to work that out?
Well, I don't have an issue with that. You do, but I don't. But I mean, if you thought it was so serious that the footy should have been called off,
yes.
Well, why are you just so cavalier in your attitude since then?
My cavalier in the attitude since then, doing what?
Yeah. What about the podcast?
Well, Mick, how many times can I explain this? We are sitting here 8 feet apart from one another. There's 2 of us in the room. If you'd
Where's
been
Rod?
here... Pardon?
Where's Rod?
Feeding
sitting,
his face.
Rod's sitting out in the car.
Is he really?
What?
He's out in the car, is he?
He's out in the car. I said, go completely away from us, Rod. Didn't I, Rod?
Well, who's working the equipment?
Mick, no one's working the equipment. We've got a monkey in here doing it. You could have sat at least 10 feet away. We are social distancing, and the very fact that you're out drinking, swapping saliva with people, 8 people out in the outside
We
balcony.
weren't tongue kissing, Sam. We were having a couple of stubbies.
People smoking out there.
I concede we shouldn't have done it. I concede that.
It's so. This is the bigger thing about the AFL. I'm not going on about the AFL anymore. It just was mind-boggling, Mick. So the reason we had a lot of comment about the fact I brought up the fact that women are not dying as much in Italy because they have 2 X chromosomes. They being the sexual chromosome in the body, the human body. We have 23 pairs of chromosomes, that's 46, and women have 2 X chromosomes, which are the sexual chromosome, which might explain, because we had a lot of people last week ring in and contact us saying, why would Mick and Don never have been in love? And I say probably because they didn't understand what chromosomes were. I'm not sure. And
You do.
Well, I don't, but I said I had been in love.
Because you can't pronounce it correctly. It's chromosome, S-O-M-E, not Z-O-M-E. You call it chromosome.
Oh, a chromosome.
Thank you, Michael.
I've
copped it all morning, Michael. I wish you were here.
Well,
I've got great empathy for you now.
Don said we are the custodians of everything that's moral. I said, I think that's custodian, Don. He said, it's casto. What's the matter if it's custodian? I said, well, custodian gives the implication you might have been castrated. It's custodian.
Well, geez, that's a long bow.
Well,
look, Sammy, I'm prepared to say that you are the cavalier, reckless, and irresponsible. Any one of those 3. But Donald, you're even worse. I mean, you were in hospital for a week 2 months ago.
Yep.
And the doctors say, don't leave home. And I bet your daughter Louise has smacked you around the ears about going into the city and doing a podcast.
He's not in the city. He's got out of that half car he drives. It's just got a cabin. There's no back to it. I don't know what he's. What do you
call that a ute?
No,
he's not in the city.
He got out of the ute and he walked in here. He sat. He's got a mask on as we speak and gloves. He sat 8 feet away from me, and when this is finished, he's going to get back in the ute and he's going to drive home. How could that possibly be risky?
Well, Don, what did your daughter say, Don?
Oh, yeah. Okay, Michael, don't bring that up. It was a harrowing Friday night.
And so she, because she is one of the few people that care about you, says don't do it.
I think she's the only one who cares about me. My son wouldn't care.
No,
doesn't give a rat's
You're
up.
not answering my question. How, in spite of what Don's daughter and your kids say, Mick, how is it irresponsible to do what we're doing?
Because the medical advice says do not leave home.
So
did you go and have a coffee at Steve's place this morning?
No.
No, you did not.
Oh, no, just wait. You'll love this. I'm going to repeat this. Have a listen to this. Don goes over to Steve's place to get a coffee and he says, I want me normal bacon and eggs, please. And Steve says, I'm not allowed to make them. You're not allowed to eat them. I can only serve takeaway. Don said, well, I can't function unless I eat. And he said, well, I'm sorry, mate. He said, I mentioned all this before, so the sake of repeating myself. So Don said, what about I get my car and I drive round and I sit out the front of your place and you bring the bacon eggs to me? He said, mate, it doesn't work like that. He said, we just can't have that. That's just so stupid. And Don said, well, I've driven all the way up here and I need to eat. So Steve said, look, I tell you what I'll do, mate. He said, I'll cook your bacon and eggs. You can go out into my storeroom and you can eat it out of sight of the public. So Don went out and he ate scrambled eggs in the middle of packing cases and detergent and mops and pans and crap.
What, Steve's sanitised storeroom, wasn't it?
That's right. And Don's here at the minute. You can't see him. He's got a mask on and gloves, and he's got that stupid imbecilic look on his face with the headphones over. All I can see is his eyes.
Now, Sammy, let me ask you this. How would we have looked if we're 70 years plus men, right?
Yes.
How would we have looked if one of us had got sick because of we are on the way to or during the podcast? We're not sending a service to the troops in America, are we?
Almost.
Aren't you overrating the importance of what we normally do?
Not at all, Mick. We are providing a very, very vital community service. We've had 1 million downloads since we've been doing this in 35 episodes. Did you know that?
Nearly a million.
And Scott Morrison said, please, boys, could you continue on? The morale of the troops is benefiting greatly by Don's nonsense and you actually every now and again saying something that people might hang their hat on.
So you pick people like Ross Stevenson and John Burns and Jared Waitley and Neil Mitchell and Gary Lyon, all broadcasting from home, so they're out of step, are they?
So I'm going to ask you again, Mick, please, for the sake of just getting an answer. Don has driven up in a car with no one else in it. He's walked in here. We're sitting 8 feet apart. He's going to get in his car and drive home. How is that socialising with people or not taking into any account of being taking the risk account? How is that risky?
No, look, if that's literally true, I'm impressed with the precautions that you've taken. But you know, as of overnight, Britain has decided that there can be no more than 2 people in any gathering. No more than 2. And there is
there's no more than 2 here.
What is Rod Law invisible?
Rod Law is not here at the minute. He has deliberately stepped out behind the glass partition. He's got his face pressed up against the window in case something goes wrong with the computer and we don't know how to stop transmitting or recording. And then
Your son? What about your son, Jack?
He's upstairs. No, he's upstairs.
He's upstairs.
So now, you'd be very safe here, Michael. But anyway, let's get off that subject. Mick, are you happy with the authorities, what they're doing? Do you think they could do a little bit more?
Oh, this will be good.
Sam always says that I sit on the fence and get splinters up my backside.
I say that. I agree with him.
And you do, and you agree with that. But surely I'm entitled to say, look, the world's leading medical authorities all have the same view. I mean, there are 16,000 people who have died from.
But I said to you, Michael, Australia, our politicians, do you think they're sitting on the fence as well? We seem to be a step behind. We seem to be a step behind. We could do a lot more.
Well, I'll tell you what we could do. We could stop people disembarking a ship in Sydney.
Thank you.
And spewing out 3,000 people without any checks at all. I mean, that destroys the credibility of all the people who are trying to keep this thing in check.
And they're also coming through they're coming through on the aeroplanes from overseas and not being checked here, and the responsibility is put back on them to go into isolation.
What about the story that you would be, both of you should be familiar with, about the dinner party?
Your dinner party?
No, not mine. Someone who is so up themselves and just back from overseas has a dinner party. 10 people are there. 1 has the virus at the start of the dinner party, and 8 leave the dinner party with the virus. Now, that's how irresponsible is that? That's
is that
almost
people we know?
Do we know?
Well, they're down here. They're down where I live.
Oh, really?
They've just come in, as Don said, on the aeroplanes, have they? Did you hear him say that? He said, how can the aeroplanes land at Sydney?
Well, they landed at the drone.
At the aeroplanes.
The drone.
Yeah, that's right.
The drone. God, I haven't heard that. My grandmother used to say that. The drone. Yeah.
So,
Sammy, what I would do to finish this, what I would do.
Oh, you're finishing now, Michael.
No, I'm just the answer to this question.
Oh.
I thought Dan Andrews was good yesterday, decisive, specific. I thought he was good.
Hang on, on Sunday night, my friend, he said all non-essential industries would be wound up on Tuesday. he comes out yesterday and says they're not going to be wound up.
No, because
So how decisive is he?
because it's a fluid situation, Donald. It's a bit.
I think we lack
getting
leadership.
Trump's being belted because he has a changing narrative from week to week, and Daniel Andrews.
Trump, here we go again, Mick.
No,
please, will you come back?
Mick, I'm conceding. I'm not conceding. I'm agreeing with you.
Daniel, no, you never concede.
Daniel Andrews has made a very responsible statement about the Victorian state that he is Premier of. He had a different opinion a couple of days ago or a week ago, as everyone has, and as it gets more and more serious and more poignant, the politicians now rein themselves in and are being responsible, and Daniel Andrews is no exception.
No, well, your mate has gone from calling it the common cold 2 weeks ago,
Mick,
just this morning saying it's the invisible enemy.
Mick,
now I know that the goalposts have moved. I understand.
Of course, when the United States had one case, he said it's hardly a serious look, because the narrative, the situation keeps changing, and now everyone is on the same page, and they are, for once, I think, almost working in unison to try and combat this scourge, Mick. Now,
okay, now we've finally found some common ground. Now, it is a scourge, and we're working together, and I am following the advice of the medicos.
And now, so this is my next point. We or people, the woke community, are saying we are racist by calling it the Chinese coronavirus. Could I just mention this to you? That SARS started in China, and it was called, that SARS is an acronym for Severe and Acute Respiratory Syndrome. That started in China as well. The Ebola disease is a river in Africa. That started in Africa, and it's called Ebola. And MERS is Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. That's identified where it started. What is wrong with calling it the China coronavirus? That's where it started.
I have no issue with that, Sammy. We talked about this 1 or 2 weeks ago. I'm with you on that. If you want to call it the Chinese virus, you'll get no opposition from me.
Well, that's very...
Hello?
Yes. No, Mick, thank you very much. So here's industry about to... Now, I know this is the people down where you come that went to that dinner party. Whose dinner party was it?
Yeah, my word, you've got me thinking, Mick.
Dinner party was it?
Well, I think there's some familiar names there, but...
Give us some of them.
Well, I don't know if I can.
Don't do it. But I did hear, Michael, that 2 people were reported to police down there.
What?
2 people were reported to police.
For what?
Because they had the virus and they were walking around with the virus, and they were fined $20,000 each. Now,
what?
No, Don.
That's what I was told.
If anyone was fined $20,000 for breaching the protocols on this, it would be front page lead.
If you break that selfie stick, Donald, I'll put it down. Put it down.
Michael, where are you? Where are you, Michael?
So how far away are you now from each other? Still 8 feet, are you?
Yeah, well, he's going to
I'll take
jump
a photo
across
of it.
He's going to jump across the... He's a control freak, mate.
The only thing I would like to see is the authorities to say, if we get all these stringent rules in place, enforce them. Take someone to court over it and sort of say...
Thank you. That's what I was saying, Michael. Yeah. Do you think our authorities are doing enough? Now you're saying something.
I'm going to send you a photo. I've just summoned Rod to come in off the street. In fact, he's taken a photograph through the window of Don and I sitting 8 feet apart. I'm going to send it to you to see that we are 8 feet apart. Don just mentioned an extraordinary thing then that I think's gone over the top of our heads. The 2 people were summoned by the police for walking around endangering human life and have been fined $20,000 each. Don, did you make that up?
No, I didn't. It was reported to me by my son who I don't know whether it's a rumour or not, but that's what he came home and said.
Of course it's a rumour.
Well, he came home. I said, you sure? And he said, well, this is what they said.
Who imposed the fine, Don?
Yeah.
Police.
Oh, the police did.
Well, the police did they? So we've abandoned the court system, have we?
Oh, dear. So,
well, Mick, will you go on?
So Christine Nixon's come out of retirement and she's rushed down there in a truck to summons two people into the
Can we
police
wind
station.
this up?
No, we're not
He's giving me
winding
the
it.
shits.
No, Don, you that's an outlandish thing you just said then, that your son told
and
you.
we called you on it, Don.
Yeah, we've called you out on it, Don. Give us some substance.
How are you and Johnny getting on now?
Which John? The one who hung up on me the other day.
Yeah, and he was going
John
off
Newman?
his trot. Yeah, going off his
The
tree.
one who lectured me for 3.5 minutes.
Yes,
and then
that's
just
the
hung
one.
up
How
on
are
me.
you two getting on? You made up again?
Well, look, he's been doing that for 45 years.
I
No,
know. It's
no.
I cannot believe this relationship between you two.
Oh, Don, please.
What?
It's Don. Now, Mick.
Well, I get you on the phone. I've got to listen to you. Then I get him on the phone. I'm the meat in the sandwich.
Give
Oh,
us
you
your.
are.
What do you-
yeah?
Yes.
Well, you're complaining about people ringing you, are you? You ring the whole world 20 times
No,
a day.
I don't.
every
I
day
only
of the
ring
week.
you two. You're my new acquaintances.
I
And
know.
Rod,
Geez, you're overdoing that, Don. There's only so many times I can answer the phone, and you say, "Oh, you every time you ring, you say yes." As we've been through this, as opposed to "Hello, Don, how are you?" From
His
the 5 minute-
telephone number leaves his manner leaves a lot to be desired,
His
Michael. He's
telephone
as
number.
rude to
It does.
you.
Yeah, of course he's
There's
rude to me.
there's no goodbye. It's just dead on the phone when he finishes a conversation.
There's not even an hello.
No,
I
there's
said
not
to him,
a.
I said,
How
why
are
don't you say
you?
hello? He says, well, you know who you've rung, and I know who's rung me. So
Yeah.
why would I need to say hello?
Yeah, unbelievable.
That
isn't
would be correct, Mick. I will take your point if Don rang me every now and again, but he rings me every now and again, 8 times a day, and wants me to say, "How are you? What have you been doing?" From the last time you rang. There's no answer to
No
that.
wonder he's got no money. I mean, he smashes that phone, doesn't he?
Don't touch the
Oh.
microphone. Now, this you've probably seen this, that this is going round, this email of a man who is a courier who was called out to a factory in Sunshine, and he had to deliver 2 container loads. Do you know how much stuff fits in a container? 2 container loads of goods to the airport, or not the airport, to the docks, and in them were hundreds of thousands of toilet rolls and sanitized wipes, all being sent to China. That the Chinese affiliates and associates here have bought up all the toilet rolls and stuck them in 2 container loads to send them over to mainland China, while we in supermarkets...
So what's the upshot of all
The
of that?
upshot is that if we are being relegated to buying 1 toilet roll when you go into a supermarket,
So-
how can these people, not these Chinese people, how can they order all the goods that are in scarce supply and send them offshore?
Were they
and if that's happening
confiscated?
this is my point. If that's happening around the world, how many supplies are being dwindled to send over to the actual country that started the virus in the first place? And they should be confiscated. And they
Well,
should
are
be,
they? I'm asking you,
Well, they're
what's
not,
the upshot?
because the bloke has just made it public. Maybe they'll be taking. Maybe there's none left to send now because they've put them in 2 container loads of antiseptic wipes and hand washers, antiseptic washers, and toilet rolls and medical stuff.
No, I thought trade had ground to a halt. I didn't think we were sending anything anywhere or allowing anything to come in.
That was 10 days ago.
Which was?
That this man has delivered 2 container loads of product to the docks to be sent to China.
Well, they should be confiscated if they're still on the dock.
They're
Who
not-
told you? Did Don's son tell you this story, or
No,
you know
this is
verified?
this. If I could get it up on the phone, I can't get it up on the phone because we're speaking to you on the phone that the information's on. But this is a man, a credible man, who said you're welcome to check my credentials and who I am. That he said that he was called to pick up these things in a truck, and this is what it was. The manifest said this is what it was, and it was being shipped out of Australia while we are being relegated to one packet of hundreds and thousands and a packet of tissues every second day.
But human nature is amazing, isn't it, in times of disaster? Busloads going into rural areas, raiding the IGA, the local IGAs, for their own benefit, taking it back to this, the capital city of that state and selling the goods, reselling the goods.
Well, as Sam and I have been saying for 2 years, you won't get any raps for the human race from either of us. Will you, Sammy?
No, you will not, Mick. Most of us not long out of the forests. And
but people in the forest, you say that's incorrect to say that, because you're saying people out of the trees would have no morality. That's not the case. There's more morality in the forest than there is in the streets of Melbourne.
Well, what I'm saying is we just haven't evolved. I mean, people in the forests before they evolved just used to only do two things: copulate and eat. We've moved on. That's all animals do, Mick. That's all. They just root and eat. They have no other purpose of being on the planet. Don has one other purpose. I'm not sure what it is besides rooting and eating. I think rooting is now probably something that's slipped off the end of the Richter scale. But he is now, I'm not sure what his other purpose is. He doesn't eat a lot now. Looking at him now, he looks like skin and bone. I'm not sure what other purpose. In fact, Don, if Corona comes down your way, just embrace it. God Almighty!
Look, I'm pleased.
I want to ask you one other thing, Mick. Before
I'd like to also just say we're all worried. We're all worried about you too, Mick. We've just had Peter Larkin on. His exception. He's really worried.
Larkins.
What are you worried about, me?
Oh, just your physical.
Your health.
Now, isn't it funny that you berated me, lambasted me, Sam, because I didn't come on?
Yes.
And your special guest, Dr. Peter Larkins, then refused to come on.
Well, we asked him exactly that, Mick, and he had a very good answer, which I take on advisement.
Which you've forgotten.
No, Don, you love this. Don put his hand up as he does to speak, and Doc had just finished giving an answer, and he put his hand up, and I said, so I deferred to Don. So there was 3 seconds of dead air. And I said, Don, have you got wind or are you going to ask a question? He said, no, I've forgotten what I was going to say. I said, well, mate, don't put your hand up then. Yeah, just write down any question that you might think you're going to forget and then go there, because dead air is a no-no on these sort of things. So Doc Larkin said, I said, well, so you wouldn't come in here and you said we're irresponsible. Did you have the same attitude of the AFL when they started the competition 2 weeks ago? And he said, well, he didn't say it's a very good question, but he said, well, to be quite honest, I wasn't asked my opinion as to whether, as a medical person who's involved in the AFL and have been for a long time, I wasn't asked my opinion as to whether I thought it was a good idea that the competition started. Because had I been asked, I would have said, no, it is not a good idea. It is too risky. So that's why...
that's okay, that's the doc's view, but Peter Bruckner, who's in the same field and probably equally experienced, said there is minimal risk. And in fact, the same Doc Larkins told me a week ago that there was minimal risk about players playing football.
He said,
He told me a week ago.
Well, it's a
changing landscape, Michael.
You can't qualify or quantify what a minimal risk is. Dr. Peter Bushnell is... Who?
Bushnell.
Well, Dr. Peter...
Bushnell.
Bruckner. Dr. Peter Bruckner, I would like him to qualify what minimal risk means in this present climate.
Well, there's minimal risk in everything we do, Johnny. You know that.
You too.
But I must say, I haven't heard. We had a round of football. What's today? Today's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, Tuesday morning, Michael.
Well done, Mick.
Well, I haven't read or heard anything about a scare that there may have been someone on a football field at the weekend who had the coronavirus.
Fuck, I've got a selfie stick here, Mick. You know, one of those things that is telescopic.
I thought you said something else. A selfie stick. Yeah,
and it goes in and out. It's telescopic and it holds the camera so that you can hold it at arm's length. Don has systematically fucked it. He's ripped the wire out that works it automatically. The telescopic arms of it are now bent, You've completely ruined it by sitting here fiddling with it. You're twiddling, Don. You're twiddling.
Hey, Donald.
Yes, Michael.
Donald, how have you handled him one out this morning?
Oh, mate, I'm just praying you come back. Can you come back? I'll drive you.
Well, hang on. Why have I been hard to sit here and work with?
I've copped it all. Michael usually cops it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Well, so Mick.
Yes, John.
Dr. Larkins said, I'm sorry to repeat this, we did this with Dr. Larkins. Dr. Larkins said that he couldn't come in, was irresponsible, so instead of coming in here at 8:30, we could ring him at 9 o'clock. So I'm over in Collingwood, where I am always, at 8
You're
o'clock.
repeating yourself.
I'm repeating it to Mick. So
you're not allowed to go to the gym anymore.
I wasn't going to a gym, I was getting a
massage.
So the phone goes at 8 o'clock, and I answer it, and I look at it, and it's Don. And there's a message, it says, "Where are you? I'm at the warehouse." And I thought, we didn't arrange to be there at 8. We arranged, because Larkins can't come in, we arranged to be there at 9. So I rang him up and I said, "What's wrong with you?" And he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Don, fuck me, man." Seriously. Now, you know how I saw on the side of the road, I'm asking you too this, Robo, on the side of the road I saw last week, if wild and injured animals ring this number. Yeah. Tell me what this sign means. I know these things fascinate me while you're driving on your own, because you're
absorbed.
Self-absorbed. You're self-isolating. It said the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints. What does that mean?
That's a church.
What's
Church of Latter-day Saints?
What's Latter-day Saints mean? Is that where we're the early saints?
Well,
what's Latter-day Saints mean, Mick? Please, you can help me. I'm a believer. I don't know what Latter-day Saints.
You're a believer, yeah.
Well, I'm a believer.
It's a good question, and I should have had enough initiative to find that out, Sammy, and I will as soon as we hang up.
No, but
Latter-day Saints is a little bit like Jehovah's Witness. What's the witness got to do with Jehovah?
Well, what's witnesses got to?
Well, you said it's a church, John.
Yeah,
it's a Church of Latter-day Saints.
What's Latter-day Saints?
What's a Jehovah's
the present-day
Witness?
Saints or the earlier? What's the present-day saints? What's the difference between Latter-day Saints and saints?
And the old saints, yeah.
Yeah, the old saints.
Yeah.
The current saints, Don.
Well, they wear red, black, and white Guernseys, and the old ones.
I knew that's the sort of stupid answer I get. I knew, Don. I could see. I'm looking into your beady little eyes, and I can see the wheels churning behind those eyes. Thinking, I know what I'll say. I will I'll relate this to St Kilda.
Alex Jones is ringing me. I want my paddock sprayed.
Now, Sammy, you take it. I want to ask Sam a question. Sammy, Sam.
I'll turn it off, Don. Yes, Mick, please.
This is a serious question.
I'm listening.
Will you miss the footy?
The AFL games?
Oh no, the Southeast Suburban League.
Not at all.
You won't?
Well, I won't. No.
You're not unhappy about it being?
Of course I am. Of course I'm unhappy about it not going on and being cancelled or postponed. But I personally won't miss it. I didn't watch any of it in the first place, so hardly likely to miss it now that it's not on. But of course I'm devastated that the competition is going to fall on very hard times, and I'm told that if they could have strung it out. Now here's the next thing. If the AFL could have strung it out till the 1st of April, apparently the competition gets paid by the sponsors and the broadcasting network 4 payments staggered throughout the year. They got the first payment, that's why they started the competition. And if they could have staggered it out and got the game going past April the 1st, they would have got their second payment, which when you are talking about $1 billion or more, that's a reasonable payment to be given.
Where's the $1 billion come from anyway?
Comes from the license.
Where's the $1 billion shortfall? Can you tell me how that's made up?
And just off the top of my head, I'm saying that the broadcasting license fee is paid by the broadcasting networks. I'm not sure who that's made up of, whether it's Seven, Fox,
that's all.
Hang on. Seven and Fox, and what about the radio broadcasters and the conglomerates? I'm sure
they pay about 7 and 6.
Well, all right, so they pay a small part of it, a pro rata part of it. So I'm told that the reason it started in the first place was to qualify for the first immense payment, and if they could have got it over the line on April the 1st, they would have qualified for the second payment. Now, that is a hell of a lot of money, and that's why they started it, and that's why they tried to prolong it.
In the spirit of goodwill, though, do you not think, had they called it off on, say, April the 3rd, do you think they would have kept all the money for the second quarter? No, I don't.
Oh, so you've asked a question and answered it, Mick.
Well, there was an answer implicit in that question, but no, I would
rhetorical,
have thought, given
Mick.
the relationship. Who said that?
I said rhetorical.
Oh, okay.
Don doesn't know what rhetorical means. He's now
my view is
he's now counting his fingers on his hand. Look, he's got his gloves up, looking at his fingers. You've got to see this. If we should televise this, we get series after series about this. He's a buffoon. He's looking at his fingers,
laughing?
thinking.
Someone's laughing. Someone's laughing there. Are they 8 feet away from either or both of you?
He's laughing so loud I can hear him through the window. This is Mr. Law. So what was your question then about?
Well, no, I mean, look, don't you think, in the interest of goodwill, I mean, these people, the AFL's been dealing with Channel 7 and Foxtel for years and years. You think that they'd take advantage of that? If they couldn't deliver the product, you think they'd keep the Kanga, do you?
If they couldn't deliver the product, this is expediency. This is money and expediency over the health and the welfare and the look it gives to the greater community, Mick.
Channel 7's going no better than the AFL at the moment.
No, they are not. And it's just apropos to your station, SEN. I'm told that's
mixed. It's no longer mixed station.
Well, it was
mixed.
Not. It was mixed station. I'm told that is staggering, and if anyone can pull it out of the mire, it'll be Craig Hutchison. But I'm told that is staggering at the minute. I don't know.
If anyone can pull it out of the mire, it'll be Craig Hutchison. But if it's in the mire, it's probably because of Craig Hutchison.
Well, I was trying to be diplomatic, Mick, because he's a good man. He's a good man, and he's trying. He's a go-getter, and he's an entrepreneur, and he's having a go. And if this final corona stuff, I don't know why this would have much to do with. Well, it would have. Well, it would have.
No, there's a rub-off.
There is a rub-off, is there, Don? What is it?
Well, we heard Peter Larkin telling us about the economic ramifications.
No, but what's the rub-off of SEN going dusty a bit? What's the rub-off? What's the rub-off of the coronavirus?
Economically, Johnny. It's got an
Got a what? It's got a what, Don? No, but if they've got sponsors
economic ramifications, the coronavirus.
If they've got sponsors like a health product company, or for example, like Chemist Warehouse. I'm not saying that they do sponsor them, but if those items are not going to drop off the want list of the public out there, are they? It might have been. I don't know why it is. Might be in trouble. I'm not saying it is, but I am saying
Sammy,
it is.
there is one. Look, there's lots of factors in this, but one of them was that the ratings were really dismal 10 days ago.
And why?
They were,
okay, so
and SEN is predicated on football. So with no football, that's going to exacerbate the problem.
No, there was football, Mick. There was football up until last week or up 5 days ago. But
that was before the ratings came out before the football.
The Rod Marsh series and the meaningless round one. That's not football.
Oh, I see. So I get you. So you say that unless the AFL is actually up and running on a weekly basis, home and away games, that any sports program will struggle because people aren't interested in speaking about their side unless they're actually playing.
I couldn't have put it better.
Really?
Yep.
Well, how many Fox keep playing football ad nauseum all through the summer, all the games that have gone on in the past, and they chat about it and they play replays of.
But they have vision, John.
That's
They have
vision, and also it's historical, and people do tune into historical vision.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to listen to a
Those who come over on aeroplanes.
Broadcasting games.
What? Sorry,
you
Mick.
wouldn't have SEN broadcast games from the past, would you? But if there's vision attached to it, it's a different thing.
If they could rebroadcast some of Rex Hunt's famous football calls, Mick.
I wouldn't miss any of those, Sammy.
Oh, I've got a feeling you mightn't, Mick. You liked them. You thought he was a novel and unique character, didn't you?
I thought he was a knob, did you say?
No, a knob jockey. No, novel.
Novel, yeah. Yeah, righto.
Michael, he's sitting here opposite me, and he's got the face mask hanging on one ear. I think we've got to take a photo. We'll take a photo of
We've
it.
done
and
it.
send
We've
to
done
him.
that.
Can you
Don.
put that up?
Have you seen it, Michael? Has it been sent to you?
No, because I'm on the phone, Don. I'm talking to you.
Have you seen it?
The photograph.
Send me a copy, and I'll just send it on to Brendan Murphy and see if it meets all his requirements.
Who's Brendan Murphy?
Who's Brendan Murphy? He's the Chief Medical Officer for the country, isn't he, Don?
Hello, crickets.
How would I?
Yep, thank you. Well done. Now, Mick, this will affect maybe the people who are at that dinner party who Don said have got
I
fined.
didn't go to a dinner party. Oh, yeah, the naughty people.
The naughty people who Don said have been arrested and been fined half their life savings for actually venturing out in the street because his son told him, and he heard that from someone else who was in a restaurant who overheard someone on the phone speaking about it. Those people would be prime candidates. Now, listen to this. I know this in the overall scheme of things is you say, oh, well, who could give us stuff? Just think about this. Our ski season in Australia goes for about 3 months, 12 weeks. Just think that those people who now own businesses and chalets and take bookings and the ski season was defunct, they will go out of business overnight.
Why?
Because for 9 months of the year they rely on the 3 months.
But you ski by yourself.
I see. So you
could live in a chalet by yourself. So
I see. So you can drive up to Mount Buller, can you, on your own?
Yes.
Trek up. Don't worry about the chairlift. Trek up to the top of Mount Buller, which is 5,000 feet high.
They used to do that.
With a backpack and your skis, plummet down the thing, fall over, break your leg, get on your phone and say, I'm sorry, I've fallen over. Could someone come up? And they say, no, the ski season's cancelled. They say, well, just lie there till the summer, will you? And we'll come up and get you. Don, please, man. The ski, you can't drive up to Buller
he's
up a road.
Informed, Michael. You stay away.
I'm not informed.
You
Don.
are informed. You're funny.
You said, Don. You're said funny. The ski season is buggered. I said this for the 3 months of the year. Those people rely.
I know what you said. You don't have to repeat yourself.
Well, you said people can drive up and ski.
But Sammy,
yes,
you don't. I mean. You can worry about the ski season. But
someone's at the door, Michael.
Broad.
Michael.
My door or your door?
Your door. We haven't got a door.
Oh, Lizzie just came in. But we're 4 metres apart.
Listen to Don.
What about the cafes in Bridge Road like Horse to Water?
Yeah.
Sammy?
What's Horse to Water?
That's Mick's Son's Cafe.
Oh, nepotism again. You two are unbelievable.
Did you say nepotism? You said nepotism. That's nepotism.
Oh, listen, will you shut up? You two are unbelievable.
But I'm unbelievable.
Well, here he is promoting his son's business, and last week you've got your son in the paper.
Well, you want to ask your son about the lack of promotion of his business.
I don't speak to him.
Hey, Donald, he lives with you.
We don't speak. He grunts at me. Mick, what am I doing wrong?
Well, how did you find out about...
where he learnt that.
How did you find out about the fines of $20,000 if you don't speak to him?
He did draw a breath once. He did.
Oh, he does speak to you.
Occasionally.
Just tell us how a normal day goes at the Scott household. Your son comes out of his bedroom in the morning and you've just come in from feeding the horses or touching them up or doing something, and you sit down. Do you actually
He
sit
gets
over
up,
at breakfast?
goes to work. He doesn't have breakfast. Then he
Does he
comes home.
shower? Does he use the bathroom? Do you have to queue up to use your own facilities?
No. No, the showers we do. We shower together.
You what?
Well, it's only
You
the
shower
one
together?
Yeah, well, there's only one shower, you idiots. No,
What-
there's
what
not
do you
much
mean you-
conversation
What
going.
what do you mean?
He's going to help me clean the place up, I think.
What do you mean you shower together? Did you mean to say that?
No, I didn't. Just come on. Just move on.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, I'm trying to move on. That's just the thought of you and your son sharing together has got me nonplussed, Don. Please take that mask off and speak into the microphone and put the selfie stick down.
I've got the selfie stick.
Well, what are you touching down there then? I thought it was the selfie stick. God Almighty! You've been pulling the selfie stick in and out, and I thought it was the selfie stick. Don, please. Oh man.
John,
Oh.
Have
Fair.
you finished with me?
All right, Mick. Yep. Any other announcements? Where do you think it's headed, mate? Just give us just a quick rundown.
Well, I think we're cactus. I genuinely think that we're cactus.
No, I
there
know
won't
you're
be a
serious.
business plan.
What do you mean by that? Because I'm in agreeance with you. Is agreeance a word?
Yeah, well,
Agreement.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, but I mean, everyone's being stood. Not everyone, that's true. But 80% of the population, the
90.
workforce, is being stood down. Right, it's being stood down. Therefore, they don't have any money to buy anything. And therefore, if we don't buy anything, business goes bust.
Yep.
Pubs and clubs and all those places have been shut by the government. This is the biggest
Since the
economic. Well, yeah. I mean, would it be worse than the war or not?
war. Be worse than the war.
Maybe like the Depression, Michael, where people were forced to hit the road.
Yeah.
But then
Anyway,
the depression wasn't killing people health-wise. It was killing them in different ways. This
that's
is
right.
going to. This
Sammy,
is,
you know the thing I'm being serious now. I know you don't belittle what's happening in Italy, but in the last 3 days, we've woken up to the news. 800 people dead in Italy overnight.
Yeah.
Then this morning, 600 dead in Italy overnight. You imagine if the Herald Sun came out with a story, 600 dead in this country. I mean, that is a catastrophic event.
And the number of medical people also, Michael, on a somber note, dying in Italy. They're on the front line and they're putting their lives at risk. Well, they are. They're at risk.
They are.
And they are,
And so are our people. So the people on the front page of the Herald Sun today. We stayed at work for you, so you stay at home for us. I might leave you on that note.
Well, all right, Mick. Well, very, very nice to hear you, and stay safe down there, wherever you are.
I've got some rubber gloves, Mick. Do you want me to drop them in?
Well, I'm not going to any more dinner parties, Don, and thank you for blowing the whistle on that too. That was very thoughtful.
Yeah. And
right. Goodbye, boys.
Don knows a man who had 5 cocks. His pants fitted him like a glove.
Goodbye, John. Goodbye, Don.
See you. Right, Don, we don't anymore. This is your chance. Every time you say, I didn't get a chance to give some of my topics. Here's your chance. Have you got anything there that you want to broach with me?
Nothing that is relevant today because this coronavirus is topping everything.
Forget the coronavirus. What have you got written, scribbled down there? What have you got down?
Well, there's council rates, there's government infrastructure. It goes on and on. But anyway, let's move on.
Well, don't say I never give you a chance to bring stuff up. Don?
Where's the music, Rod? Thank
Well,
you.
so this is well done. Thanks, everyone, for downloading us. We're over 1 million. And
No, we're getting to 1 million.
Oh, Don, fucking hell. When this goes to air, it'll be over 1 million. That's extraordinary in 38 weeks.
Yeah, it is.
And thanks to you people listening and Don, you being here. If you weren't here, we'd be nowhere.
You'd be 2 million.